think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is my rainbow.
Good morning, guys. It is 6:31. Sorry, I'm a minute late. It is November 15th. It is Wednesday, hump day, right? You can please see clearly now. The rain is gone. There's no more problems. No more inflation. Interest rates have peaked. The bull market's back. Anyway, my name is Scott Redler. I am the Chief Strategic Officer of T3 Live. Welcome to the 630 Club, where we try and figure out how to ways to navigate the market, make some cash flow, try and get paid quarterly, monthly, and also set ourselves up for the future with long-term flows, with a 401k, with a 529. You name it, you got to prepare for the future. But you also have to live for the day, and you also have to stand up for what you believe in. Otherwise, you're always sitting on your ass. Anyway, so let's take a little closer look here. So this morning I was in the sauna and I did a little video because I was a little pissed off. Excuse my French. You know, like yesterday while the trading day was going on, that news hit about Mike who lost like a few $1 billion, you know, in a short position. Okay, listen, the guy made billions during the financial crisis while people lost millions. And I don't know whether he had a good attitude about it or whatever, or he was smug. But the bottom line is, you know, a lot of people, you know, were really excited and really happy. I'm like, what does that do for your life? Are you happy because, you know, he had a cover in a pain trade? I'm like, we're all traders. We've all been in pain trades. Even though he is who he is, you know, you don't want to wish someone a bad situation and lose a lot of money just to make yourself feel better because maybe you weren't long enough yesterday into that huge move, or you didn't react well enough during this three-week, you know, active sequence that dug a lot of us out of a big hole, because I know I was in a pretty big hole for my high water mark. So thank goodness about 2-3 weeks ago, I started to really say, hey guys, you know, look at what you're down, look at where your high water mark is. We're going to go day by day, week by week, trade by trade, active setup by setup, and we're going to make some damn progress. I think a lot of people did really well. So let me tell you another little story. So, you know, if you look here at the S&P cash, okay, first of all, people are like, when did this sequence start? To me, this sequence started on this day. It was hard to see the bottom here, but when the active bulls took the ball back right here around 42.16, that's pretty much when I put on a lot of my swing trades. That's when we went back above the 8-day moving average. Okay, that was when some leaders started to lead. So that was my spot that I was like, okay, let's get back to a portfolio approach. So last Thursday, everyone on the Alpha team knows, because I was really upset. You know, if you guys read, there was an ICBC ransom attack on my clearing agent. I am a founding partner of T3. So besides being the chief strategic officer and a founding partner, obviously I get paid for a living. You know, that's where, you know, I make my extra money, which puts me ahead of the game. So anyway, on this day right here, look, this day right there, okay, was the day that I couldn't put orders into my active and my swing account. That was the day that, you know, I talked to my CEO and I started giving him a hard time. Like, you know what, I can't give you a hard time because we didn't ask for a ransomware attack. We didn't ask for us not to be able to execute on our platform. So I had to manually, you know, talk to my trade desk to get me out of my 6, 7, 8 longs, because this day kind of felt as if maybe we could retrace, right? This was the day that the S&P kind of took out this ascending little channel here, right? So it made it think as if, you know, we were going to retrace and head lower. Rightly so. You know, okay, this was a pretty bearish engulfing bar. So on that day, that was the day that I had to tell my traders that I've been riding longs from here. All right, get me out of my leftover trades. I got out of Meta. I got out of, you know, Microsoft. I got out of a bunch of things. But our options account was working, so I left on some leftover options, and I sold premium higher. You know, I figured, hey, we're not going to get above 43.93 now. Let me sell all this premium higher. So that was Thursday. So Thursday I had a pretty bad day. I probably lost an extra 20 grand or so just because of the situation. I was pissed. You know, like I've just had a great 7 for 7. I just worked my way back out of a pretty big hole. Yes, I was in a bit of a hole, you know, on the quarter. And then, you know, Friday comes in the morning, you trade support's like, hey, you know, you could trade, you know, you're back, you want your box turned on. I'm like, yeah, let's get back going. And if you remember, the first hour on Friday was pretty strong. I'm like, guys, watch Microsoft, see if Microsoft makes a new high or takes back 50% of the prior day. And right here, basically, that is when I covered my Q short because I was short the Qs, and I started putting some trades back on that I felt looked good. I think I put back Microsoft back on. I added to Apple. I was, I didn't get out of politics here. I added to Square. I added to, to Shop. I added to FXI calls. I added to my IWM, and I kind of re-engaged. Even though I was so upset about this day and that I couldn't execute, but the reason why I go on my sauna every day and I go on my ice barrel every day and I listen to motivational, videos is to build mental toughness. Say, okay, that was a situation. That was yesterday. Let's move forward. Let's just get going. Can't do anything about those conditions. I can only make the right decisions based on the situation. So P.S. on this day, I didn't have a rock star day, but it put me back in a rhythm with the sequence. Okay, I then had longs again, and I had a few hedges again, and I felt better that I re-engaged. I wasn't a deer in headlights. Maybe 7-10 years ago, I would have been pointing and pissed at the world, and I wouldn't have got back involved. And then, boom, on Monday, I made some good money because we opened up lower. I was able to get out of some overlay hedge in the SPYs. I was able to buy some SPYs back. I was able to buy some more Meta. I was able to, buy the dip and wound up making good money on Monday. And that's when I bought more IWM calls for the CPI. That's when I bought more options. That's when I got in AI. And yesterday, I wound up having the best day of my year. But it all stemmed from making the decision right there and saying, okay, yesterday's circumstances were annoying and I couldn't control them. What could I control? I can control getting back involved because it's a new day, new situation. I want to make the right choices in the right conditions and not dwell on what went on. All right, so P.S., thank goodness. And now, here we are. You have the S&P 4508. You have another level above. Maybe it wants to fill this gap before retracing. You have the 8-day down here. You have another gap. A lot of people during the way is like, right, dog, we have to fill gaps. We have to fill gaps. I'm like, no, we don't. If we don't fill a gap, all that's telling you is that gap direction is so strong, we should continue in that direction faster than you think. If we go back and forth and hold and fill it, it shows you that there's not enough strength. The cells have some power still, and the speed is different. So by never filling this gap, it led to another move. By never filling this gap, led to another move. Now the question is, does this gap stay unfilled, and do we work our way to fill that gap? And then head back towards 5607, which was the July high. Meanwhile, the July high happened, when inflation was still kind of, out there and rates still didn't peak. And now that you have, inflation heading in the right direction around the world and you have rates that peaked, chances are this move can continue. If you look at the weekly chart of the S&P, I showed you guys this head and shoulder, this cup and handle type pattern, right? Where you have this huge cup, built a handle and took it out, okay? And this is what this looks like on the weekly. And I also tried to tell you, hey, if you're not, doing your best actively, at least you're building for the future. That's why I tell you guys about my blood on the street account. I put my blood on the street account to work like 6-7 times, starting from the taper tantrum in 2018. And I was documented in the last 3 months, putting it to work right here, and I actually put a little bit more right here, but I didn't talk about it because it didn't hit the whatever. But anyway, I sold one of the tiers on the close yesterday. So same way everyone was saying, hey, how could you be a buyer here and a buyer here? We're going to here. I was like, well, I have 4 tiers. It's a blood in the street account. I don't get paid monthly or quarterly. This is for the future. Okay, my wife worked at a hospital. She left the hospital to go to private practice, and she can't contribute. So it's an account that I can't contribute to, but I could trade it for the future, which is only buying more 10% or more lower, and then trade around it. And P.S. on the close, which I did get documented again, I'm not calling it top, I sold half. Okay, this is the language here. This is the language that I've been putting in all the weekly charts. So If you don't trade for a living, you're just trying to be responsible and prepare for your future. This is what Scott Redler, as a 51-year-old, has started to do throughout the course of the years, to put myself in position later in life, and also obviously have happiness today. So anyway, I did sell half of what I put in. Everything is net money up a lot. Her account is at a historic high. Yes, S&P's not at a historic high. Her account's at a historic high. I have half left. The other half will be sold only when we take out 4818. Not saying it's going to happen by January or even in the first half of 2024, but it can. But when it does, I will get out. It'll be in a fixed rider. It'll be there. And it's the blood in the street account that'll only be put back to work when we, trade 10% off the highs, which happens every now and then. 401k is every single month. 529 continuing, doesn't really matter. He's a freshman. Whole life insurance. I had a friend, thank goodness he talked me into doing whole life insurance when I was 35, which is part of this whole thing here. I've been putting $1,500 a month in since I'm 35. That means I had to give up a few dinners, maybe give up a vacation, but guess what? It's vested, I have a good cash value, and it's a vehicle for the future. So if you're in your 30s, whole life is better than term. Term is an accident policy. Whole life is something you could have down the road. But anyway, so here we are. We hit 4508. You have 4607 as a point of reference, and then those are the highs. Know your time frame, know what you could do, keep your mind straight. Don't be rooting and happy and commiserate. Oh, Mike Burry lost a few $1 billion. Makes you feel better because you weren't as long yesterday, or you were caught a little short. That's not what's going to make you money. What's going to make you money is figuring out why you weren't as long as you should have been, why you didn't stick with trades, why you were overly short, and why you didn't, stick to your plan. Then you'll be happy when you have success versus rooting on someone else's misfortune. Anyway, so moving forward, sorry to rant a little bit. I don't have that many setups to talk about because we're overbought. We're like plus 60 on the oscillator. A lot of things had big moves. So it's hard to initiate new trades here. I'm just actually massaging older trades. This IWM to me, still has room. I am long the IWM. I am in a call spread. I'm in straight calls. I remember we made money on this one first, and then back right around here, I started buying the 175s, thinking we can get to 179 to 181 by the Friday after Thanksgiving. So I thought those would be almost a zero. Anyway, right in here before the CPI tweeted, I'm buying some 171s, and boy did those pay. And then all of a sudden these paid, and now I'm in a call spread for this 179 to 181. I'm also long a little IWM, and we'll see. And then we'll see if names in the mid caps and small caps could make some moves to catch up, because a lot of them, if you look at the weekly charts, are nowhere, and some of them are starting to look better on the daily charts. So anyway, I do think this IWM could see at least to this area. And then if you go to the weekly chart, it's still nowhere. Like, oh my God, what happens if all of a sudden, rates continue lower and then the computers are programmed to buy the IWMs? The IWM just did this. So if they, oh, I missed this whole big move in the IWM. What'd you miss? This is a 3-year channel, and all it did is get back to here. Here's 182, and we were at 199. Everyone was rooting for a breakout before we had the breakdown. So don't just start also fading the IWM just because you think it just had what it did and it's going to do what it did last time. So anyway, don't think about what you missed or what could have happened. Think about why you did what you did. Look in the mirror so then you can make changes, and I do think we could see a move up to here or more. As far as the Qs probably will see some sellers into the highs here. Why? That's what usually happens when you work your way back. So at first kiss, I would think you're probably a better seller into this spot than buyer. Again, just like the other, look at these gaps never got filled, so I gave you direction there. And just like what happened here, that was the same Thursday I got stopped out of everything because I lost my clearing agent. You had one day to reevaluate to say, okay, get out of your shorts, get long, once it took back half of this candle and took out the high here, right? And now look. So you always have clues to make your adjustments if you're thinking clearly enough to do so. Microsoft led the way. It was quiet for 2 days. I think it's going to be cute now that, people are probably like, oh, Microsoft, false breakout. Meanwhile, it's probably going to continue going higher. You have a lot of good stocks, on the move in mega cap tech. Yes, Tesla is not leading. I put out there this inverted head and shoulders pattern. I am long. I will be trimming into this 242 area. It's up a bunch. Meta's been my #1 trade for, since this spot. It's on its way. I'll probably get a lot. I'll probably reduce it today. I might even get out of Meta today. Some of these things are extended, but it doesn't mean you could just blindly short them. I do think there's a lot of room still in some of the smaller caps. I personally think Square is going to get to at least the 200-day. One of the insiders bought $24 million worth of stock. 24 million, right around 50. He's not looking for 5 points, And then if you look at the weekly chart, look at this Square. It was literally was up here before breaking down in 2021, 225. So to get to 62, I'm not asking for too much. I'm going to try and stay with that trade. There's a bunch of names like this. Okay, granted, these aren't the best quality names, but there's setups here, right? You had a big gap to trade against. It's above resistance now, another gap, and it can continue. I do, we went into what did we buy on Monday? We bought Shop, also pro earnings gap, bull flag, another pro earnings gap. But again, it's hard to sink your teeth into some of these things now, but they can continue. I do think AI can continue. AI, if you remember back when I used to trade this thing here, what a big move to 48 plus. And now it looks like there's room to 32, 35. So I'm sticking with that. I'm just going over some of my longs. If you remember also, in the last week and a half, I've been accumulating FXI calls. I'm like, if we're going to continue in the U.S. markets, chances are people are going to think China can get better. And then when we heard that Xi and Biden are speaking today, I started buying more options for the FXI last week. They were very cheap. And the Hang Seng was up almost 4%. So this FXI should continue. Okay, it's nowhere. Look where the FXI is. So I accumulated a lot of 26.5 calls into this spot, and that's working. So little things that are working to help come together to put to make your P&L go in the right area. Some are saying, hey, what about Apple? Is Apple going to work its way back towards an all-time high? It looks like it. The place to be in Apple again was last week. That's when I bought a decent call spread and was long, and I'm not long at this second. It's a little extended. It's just it's just trending. This was your spot when it cleared this descending trend line. That was your decisionary spot to say, hey, it's not a short. It's back in play. That's when I went long the stock and long my call spread. And granted, I didn't catch up to here, but I caught up to probably around here. So you don't need to take out the entire move as an active trader. You just got to take out a nice piece of it. And then if you want to trail it, that's cool. Sometimes you just want to book it as well. So I get it. There's nothing really tight right now. It's 6:49. It's November 15th. I think the futures are up about another 13, 14 handles. So what I'm going to do is I have 7 longs on. And if you look at the SPYs, I will trim some. I do think that if you're trying to hold a portfolio approach and you want to put hedges on, the way I do it now is I have my I trim into strength. I sell some SPY premium $3 higher. So this way I'm kind of hedged up to that number. If we get there slowly, I get to keep it and keep my longs. It keeps me balanced. On Monday we open down. I cover some hedges. I buy some more stock. We go green. I sell some. I hold some. And I've been doing that pretty much since here. And that helped me go from, I'll be honest, I was down almost like $200,000 for the quarter. And now I'm close to my high water mark to get a check again for the quarter. So it makes me happy besides everything else. So just so you know, I'm a pro and I'm not at my highs of the year and I'm not looking for a big fourth quarter check yet. I too had to say, hey, you know what? It's been a tough going. I'm down a lot of money, and not doing a whole lot. I got caught in a few things also. And, literally when we started next setup, think clearly, net money, move forward. I've already made back well over half. And now, I'm thinking clearly and I'm not, I'm in a good rhythm. That's what you have to be in a rhythm to consistently put some days together. Then all of a sudden you turn around and like, wow, not only am I not in the hole, I'm up good money. I'm going to get my quarterly check. There we go. And, that's where we're at, guys. The way you build mental toughness is by making goals in your mind and following them. I'm a little weirdo, but I'm doing a race. December. I'm going to Florida to do a Ragnar. I do one Ragnar a year, right? So, I like to be in good shape. I don't want to hold my team back. So the reason why I do these races is to keep myself honest because, I did 2 Ironman. I've done 10 marathons. Obviously I'm older, so I changed now. These are relay races through the mountains. I'm not, doing 2.5 miles, swim 112 on a bike in a marathon. Now I'm just running 6, 7 miles, each leg for whatever. But anyway, it's 3 weeks away. So in my head, I'm not gonna have any beer between now and the race. I'm not gonna have any French fries. I'm not gonna have any chips. I'm not gonna have any bread unless it's on a sandwich. For until the race to bring down getting race weight. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna have maybe a little one of those seltzers that only have 100 calories, but I'm not gonna have any beer and I'm not gonna have any wine. So I put that on paper and I put that in the universe. So if I can't mentally keep myself on what my goals are, I'm going to feel bad about myself because I'm making a commitment to whatever it is that I want to do. So, you make commitments to yourself, and if you follow those, that's what builds mental toughness and creates happiness. If all of a sudden tomorrow I'm going to the Standard having a Red Dog sandwich, and I drink 3 beers, and I said I don't want to do that, then I know I'm not mentally strong enough to do what I want to do. So if you write things down on paper and you become accountable to them and you follow that plan, that's what builds mental toughness. Okay, that's what gets you happy. That's what creates progress. Not by hearing someone else did poorly. Oh, yeah, well, I didn't do as bad as him, and that makes me feel better about myself. No, that's going to get you nowhere. I don't like to hang out with those kind of people. Anyway, good luck today, guys. Hard to buy this up open. We'll see if things hold above. Like right now, SPY 450. Does it stay above 450? Does it open up and come in? At this point, I would trim it to some strength. If you wanted to, maybe put on a hedge for Friday. Today's Wednesday. Maybe sell some 453s, okay, for $1 or so, whatever it's at. So this way you at least, if we do pull in, you can collect some premium, and then you can sit in some positions that you're managing, et cetera, and that's what I've been doing, which has been working. There are a lot of people that are just long short out there. I'm not a long short guy. I'm a directional guy. And at this point, I'll probably be 75% long with a 25% hedge. And at times I'll be able to make money on both. At times my hedge will take away from my longs, but I wouldn't be in that longs if I didn't have a little bit of a hedge. Anyway, got to do what works for you. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry for ranting a little bit. And hopefully you're making some progress. Progress equals happiness, not perfection. Nobody's perfect out there. And listen, stand up what you believe in or for what you believe in. Okay, otherwise you're always sitting on your ass and you'll never make a difference. That also brings some mental toughness.